BLINDSPOT again. It's a redskin.
Right on, writers, and welcome first-time viewers to the Books by Adrian author platform. And this is Tuber Book Club. Welcome. Hello. We're here today to talk about the second half of BLINDSPOT by Kent Shawn. And what an ending. I can't wait to talk about this freaking book. Holy crap. It's going to be a great show today. We have three of our four guests hosts appearing today. Two of them are already here, one on the way. And unfortunately, Colin Clark will not be able to join us today. As many of you know, his computer suffered a horrible, horrible death. We do not believe that it was COVID, but it's not coming back. So we're going to wait for Colin to figure that all out, and hopefully he can join us for our next book, which we will be nominating choices for later today in this episode. If you are new to the channel, like, comment, subscribe. We do stuff like this all the time where we talk to other authors. We're going to talk about books. We're going to talk about writing. We interview people, creative people of all kinds on Sundays, on Live Stream Sunday. And despite the lack of episodes in the schedule, I do a Breaking Bad commentary show as well. It's on a little bit of a hiatus because it's the thing that takes me the longest to make. And right now I'm in the process of finding a new home and moving and stuff. So we're going to put that on pause until I'm situated in a new place. And then Breaking Bad will be back. If you are a fan of sci-fi, fantasy, murder mysteries, things like that, stick around because my debut novel, Mythic Shadow of the Spark, comes out later this year, hopefully around Christmas time. So let's have our fingers crossed. The manuscript is with the editor right now, so I'm really excited about that. All right, y'all. Let's bring out our guest hosts, who I am so happy to have here. First up, we have T.E. Butcher. Tyler? Oh, no. We don't have Tyler. We have Shannon. Hey! Tyler, whenever you're back, just let me know, dude. Hi, Shannon. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Welcome back to the channel and to the show. What's new with you? Tell the people at home what you got going on these days.
Well, I think from last time I was here, I do now have a set date for the publication of the third book in my trilogy, the Clash of Goddesses trilogy. So Tears of the Marigold will come out June 6th. And I'm still working with my partner, Jenna O'Malley, who hopefully will be able to join us later in putting together the first AuthorTube writing conference coming to the AuthorTube YouTube community in July of 2022. Currently, we're still looking for speakers who would like to sign up to talk about writing and or publishing.
All right. That's awesome. Thank you, Shannon. You've got a lot going on. And
Yes.
Tyler almost didn't make it today because he's got a lot going on. So hopefully when he gets back in here, he'll let us all know what the heck has been going down with him. Let's take a moment to say hello to the chat because our chat... Oh, I think he's back. He's back.
Tyler. Oh, hey, there.
What's up, good sir? All right, take the floor, my friend. Tell the people at home who you are, where you're from, what you got going on.
Hey y'all, I am military sci-fi space opera author T.E. Butcher, the author of the Panzerter Homeworld Occupied series, both those. I'm actually working on the Blackwater series right now, so if I'm a little bit distracted, I'm doing a lot. All right.
Nice, man. Well, welcome. It's so good to have you back. It's been a while since you were on the channel. Shannon has been here recently, but it's so good to have her back too. Welcome, both of you. We were just going to turn to the chat, and there's a lot going on in there. A lot of people in there. Richard, I already saw. We have Amber Wexley. Hello. Coffee Create Connect is. I don't know whose that is. Is that me or you? I don't know what that was. Sorry, guys. Amelia, hello, welcome. You need to get like a little user picture thing, Amelia. That sad little A. All right, who else is in here? Jared. Wow, a lot of people in here. Hello. Yo, what's up, dude? Ben Pick, my man. Hello, Clara. Hello. Wow, so many people. People are asking, or were asking in the chat, if Kent Shawn is going to be here. He is going to try to be in the chat when he gets home, and that should be around the last half hour of the show or so. So he should be there to answer questions eventually. We'll talk. It's fine. We'll get there. Hello, Curl Girl. New around these parts, welcome. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Man, okay. So, guys, we're going to get started. The first phase of our show today is centered around what would have been Colin and Tyler. Tyler, it's going to be just you today. Let's get into it. All right, Tyler, you unfortunately weren't able to join us last time. What were your, sorry, wrong part. What were your thoughts on the first half of Blind Spot? For everybody at home, since we're going to be diving into the second half of the book today, it's just spoilers all around today, okay? Because we already talked about the first half of the book. So, Tyler, take it away. What were your thoughts on the first half of this book, prologue to chapter 19, chapter 1 to 19?
So I was pretty engaged throughout, which, I mean, to me, that seems pretty good. This isn't a genre that I normally read. And it's like just close enough to like normal life that I'm like, I'm kind of looking for, it's like close enough, you know? Like the fact it's in LA, like that's like just close enough. So I'm like, I'm kind of looking for escapism. I mean, angels and demons are cool, but I also think angels and demons are real. So, so I'm like, yeah, the pacing was pretty good.
Yeah.
I was telling you before in the pre-show, kind of, I was like, yeah, I don't typically read stuff like this because the whole supernatural paranormal thing kind of makes me uncomfortable at times, but I was able to stay with it. It actually, like I said before, it kind of gave me like Left Behind vibes, but not quite. I guess Left Behind is just the closest thing I could compare this to that I have also read.
Yeah.
So this is new territory for me.
It's funny that you mentioned the LA setting being more of a drawback for you, because that's the kind of stuff that I like with this, kind of, supernatural or spiritual kind of stuff. When you put it in the real world, that's when it feels special to me. If the world is already very fantastical, then I'm disconnected a little bit. While angels and demons in LA, in a place that is like widely known, like that affects me a little bit more. So it's interesting. We have opposite reactions there.
And see, I don't really know LA very well, so to me, it could have been any city to me, any city I've never been to. So it wasn't really that big of a deal to me.
Yeah, even with all the references to LA, he doesn't really get too specific, and it feels like most of the places that we visit are fictional anyway, like the Millennium Tower.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not terribly familiar with like LA myself. I mean,
sure, yeah, me
neither. Most of what I know about LA is like, oh, the traffic sucks. But I think that's what everyone knows about LA. That's just a stereotype.
Yeah. Traffic jams and famous people, right? And smog. A lot of smog.
Yeah.
I lived there for 7 years, and almost every location is a real place. Oh, we stand corrected.
Oh.
Very cool. Very cool. I kind of felt it was LA for the City of Angels thing. It could have happened anywhere, really.
Oh.
It's a good point. City of Angels. Yeah. Richard with the win. All right. Yeah. Maybe that's my wicked British perspective. No, I like it. Kind of like how Chicago and Dresden Files is its own character and draws in a lot of readers. Sure. What about the characters for you, Tyler? Any standouts there? Any big moments in that first half or anything like that?
I didn't really. This is more on just like this is more on like the way I read it because I just kind of crunched through it. Like I read the entire book like 2 days ago because I was like, oh shit, like I didn't know on this show.
I read this whole last half like within the last 3 days. So yeah, yeah.
I mean, if you're like, I sometimes like you just binge a series and you're like, oh, like I like those characters, but I didn't like really connect to anything in particular. Which like, I mean, this is his debut novel. I mean, I think he's doing pretty good so far. Like,
Oh
I was
yeah, for
engaged
a
the whole
debut
time.
novel, this is incredible. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
Like my debut in the initial release was not nearly as like well written as this. And side note, good job getting a professional editor on your
Me?
first try, because Kent
Oh,
Shawn.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, him. Because like I skipped that to save money the first time, and ooh boy,
Never.
I paid for that.
Oh,
I
you
paid
might.
for that up
Yeah,
front.
you might as well have shot yourself in the foot, literally, man. Like, yeah, that never skip the professional edit.
I know.
Even if you don't go to like a crazy expensive professional editor, I went to my sister. She's got a degree in creative writing. She's been a published poet. She's written a screenplay. Like she knows what she's doing. So I'm like, okay, you're gonna edit my stuff, and she's been editing my stuff forever now, and she's great. So it doesn't need to necessarily be Neil Gaiman's editor, but definitely
Oh no,
get somebody
I
who
can't
knows
afford
what
that
they're
guy.
doing. Yeah, I know, me neither. But it needs to be somebody who at least knows what they're doing. I read it all in one day. They read the next book in 2 days, then read the prequel in a few hours. Well, it's his pacing, especially in this latter half, but we'll get to that. His pacing is so quick that like even if you're a slow
It does
reader
lend
like me,
itself
you
well
just
to like
breeze right through it, man.
binging.
It move fast. What's up?
I said that the pacing does lend itself well to binging.
Oh yeah.
I've been the only other thing I can compare it. I mean, well, not the only other thing I compare it to. Like the other book I'm reading right now, I've been reading the Forgotten Ruin series, and it's all from the perspective of this guy Talker, who tends to ramble and rant because it's all from his perspective, and that's kind of a slog to read because he goes on digressions about coffee and whatever, and like it's immersive. Pacing's kind of all over the place, but it's an immersive trick. So I do appreciate how quick the pacing is here because I was done with the book before I even realized it.
Yeah, kept it moving for sure. And I kept thinking, like, especially with everything I've got, I'm really busy. So with everything I've got going on, I didn't
Oh
have
no,
time to read it until a couple nights ago. And so when I finally sat down to read the second half, I was just like, oh my God, how am I going to make it? And by that first session, I got through like 10 chapters or whatever it was. I'm like, oh, I'll be fine. This is fast. It'll be fine.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, dude. I felt like Indiana Jones with that boulder rolling behind him. I was like, oh man, I gotta get through this book. It's gonna be a
Yeah.
slog. And then I was
Yeah.
just gone.
No, it was so fast. It was so fast. Cool. All right. Let's get into this second half of Blind Spots. Let me tee it up here. You like how nice the music is compared to how dark the material we read is?
Yeah, like,
I was just trying to get it done. I don't have time to find the music. So, okay. Initial thoughts on the second half of Blind Spot. Shannon, you're up first. Take it away.
Well, I think it kind of supported a lot that I was thinking in the first half when I was reading it. Because, we had this idea of whether or not John was in Damien's body or what was going on there. And I had read one more chapter past the halfway mark. And to be honest, that next chapter, the first half of that first chapter, the chapter 20 was a bit, it was confusing for me. So I didn't go any further. The very next chapter, you kind of get the support for what I was thinking.
Yeah, straightens it all out in the following chapter. Yeah, if you had
Yes.
gone
Yes.
one more, it would have all fit into place.
Yes. Yes. So, I mean, overall, I love this story. I did have a lot of thoughts, a lot of questions still at the end, but I'm pleasantly surprised in that I didn't figure out everything. So that I'm happy for.
Yeah, yeah. Even with all our theories and everything on what's going on with Rehnquist and John, in the end, even if we were on the right track, there was still like more layers to it, and it was really nice to like peel away those layers at the end. Tyler, how about you? What about the second half of Blind Spot? How did that second half hit you? Initial thoughts.
I mean, really, because I binge read it in a day, it hit me the same as the first half. Back to the point where I forgot where you, like, the demarcation point where you said, like, the first and second half was. I just, like, blazed through it. And I kept wondering, like, I don't know if anyone else has, like, ever run a marathon or, like, a long distance, like, foot race. But it's kind of like where you're just, like, in the zone and you're like, I wonder where the halfway point is. And then you see, like, the finish line. Like, oh.
Yeah, yeah. I would love to hear what your question was. If you want to save it for Kent, but it's also maybe something that gets answered in the sequels. I don't know. So, very interesting that your question was never answered. I want to get into that. Man, the chat is hopping. Sorry, go ahead, Tyler.
So, like, I don't, like, tend to form too many questions, and I just, like, they're like, oh, maybe the author will explain it, maybe they don't, because, like, kind of the way, like, I picked up on, like, world building is, like, sometimes you can just name something and drop it, so the world feels, like, a little bit more lived in. So, like, something could be a hint to something in the future. Something could also be, like, just world building, making the world feel lived in. So I'm like, oh, it might be column A, it might be column B. I don't know.
Yeah.
Go out to the board, we'll find out. I'll feel smart if I remember that.
Man, it's interesting with the questions and everything that come up, because like we said, like maybe they're answered in future books and everything, but I also feel like there's probably enough there to figure things out ourselves. You know what I mean? Like the way that the elixir just kind of clicked into place and started making sense at a certain point. You know what I mean? Because like all of a sudden you had all the pieces. You didn't have all the pieces yet. Once you had them, it all kind of clicked. So I kind of wonder if there's pieces throughout the thing that if we put together, all the answers would click.
Yeah, I see.
Not quite everything.
Spoilers. Yeah, not quite everything, right?
Because my biggest thing with the elixir is that, right, John/Damien uses it at the end, his blood on the bullets, to shoot the doctor. Yet the doctor had his hands deep in his gut not an hour before that, trying to get a bullet out of him, blood all over him. And okay, so maybe he, it's not going
but it goes
inside
into
him,
his body. Yeah.
Right. So maybe it didn't go on, but still, why would he take the chance of putting his hand all the way in it? Why wouldn't he know? He made the elixir himself. So in my mind, I'm like, wouldn't, as a scientist, doctor, whatever, he would have checked all of it, seen what it did,
I mean,
how it
are we
interacted
sure
with
he
stuff?
wasn't wearing gloves? Did it? I know it said that it was dirty, but I don't remember if it said he was wearing gloves or not. That's
Yeah, he wasn't
question.
wearing gloves. I went back and read through it.
It could easily be a case of something the character knows, but like the narrator, whoever's perspective, like we're in, like doesn't. Like character has knowledge that the reader will not have because of just the way they're looking at the situation.
Sure, yeah.
I just think that if the doctor knew, he would have taken precautions. He wouldn't have put his whole arm.
Because definitely the whole blood bullet thing was set up with Shifty earlier, but I had completely forgotten about the procedure as it was. So,
and he didn't put it inside of himself, but what's to say he didn't have like a cut or anything on his hands or anywhere on his arms? And
well, I don't know. Celestial being, he probably was pristine, but I don't know.
I don't know.
Interesting. Questions. Okay, well then, you know what? Let's get into it. Let's get into our chapter notes. Let's kick this thing into gear. So I'm gonna pull up my chapter notes here. Oh, I almost forgot. My thoughts. I liked it. I liked the second half. I thought it moved even faster than the first half. I was left with some questions, but overall I was very, very satisfied with the ending, especially once I got to a point where I saw the ending coming and it still hits you like a ton of bricks. I really respect that kind of shit. That's good stuff. Let me get the... All right, where is it? Oh, I'm in the wrong place. Chapter notes. Right. Okay. Did you guys take notes chapter by chapter? You don't have to necessarily. I'm just asking.
I took some notes, but I didn't write down like my favorite quote like you did.
I didn't do that as many times this time either. It was more about like what was going on in the chapter itself. How about you, Tyler? I know you binged through it, so I doubt that you took notes.
This is, if I'm gonna in front of me, like if I'm, I should probably take some notes.
Yeah, maybe.
Like,
you're clicking a lot, so you're like coming in and out, and we're only catching.
Okay,
Like
I was wondering if that was just me.
No, it's not just you. We're catching like fragments of what you were saying, but we're missing a lot of it. I don't know.
if I'm probably should take.
Sorry, man. We're not getting any of that. Let me see here. So for the first chapter in the second half, chapter 20, it started for me with kind of like this loose confirmation of Damien Rehnquist, like Shannon, you were talking about earlier, how you had that theory, so you went ahead, but you were still confused about it. I felt like that was intentional because it says Damien Rehnquist said his first prayer. It didn't say John said his first prayer. It said Damien Rehnquist says his first prayer. So you're like, wait, is that confirmation? It's Damien. And then the other thing in that chapter was the light, the clouds, like the fury of it all. It was just a really great little scene, that 20th chapter. It was like right after that big cliffhanger, so it gives you that like nice punch right after, and leads into more answers in chapter 21.
So
yes, go ahead.
I thought for chapter 20, it started off being, sorry, I just had swallowed my own spit, so I'm like still trying to catch my breath here.
You're good, go ahead.
So it started off to me a bit confusing because it does start like an omniscient, almost like third person or far away, not limited, like third person, then came down to, talking about how heaven unleashes fury and everything. By the time I got to the end of the chapter and Damien Rehnquist made his first prayer, that to me, after I read chapter 21 and I went back to this chapter, I was like, oh, right there. That's telling you right there. This is still Damien. This is not, John is not there. He is not in this body.
The body is that of Damien Rehnquist.
Yeah. So by the end, it became clear. And after I read 21, then I went back to 20 and I was like, oh, okay, this makes more sense.
Yeah, for sure. In 21, let's see here. The man was still...
But I wrote that this foreshadows the devil's influence when Jerry's scared of John later.
In 21?
Yeah, in 21, because when I put John, but I know it's Damien Rehnquist, but it was easier to write John than Damien or Rehnquist in my notes. So John, of course, he's talking to Jerry, and he doesn't know why Jerry is acting so scared of him when he thinks he's smiling. But that actually,
that moment hit me so hard. Yes.
Yeah, later on when the devil said, well, you have a little bit of me in you already. People will do what you want because they'll be afraid of you. I was like, that's why Jerry was scared of him back in chapter 21.
See, or just for the fact that it's Damien Rehnquist. Like Damien Rehnquist is standing in the room right now. His reputation precedes him. He's probably terrifying. And the idea that he smiles at him, meaning to smile at him, but the guy is seeing the scariest dude in LA smile at him devilishly. You know what I mean? Like, that's terrifying. And he doesn't know that he's being scary. I love that. It mentions here the man who still thought of himself as Special Agent John Benz. That was the final like confirmation, right? Where he spells it out for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that quote is the one that I wrote down where it says that John tried to smile and it must not have come across as friendly. Jerry hightailed it out the door.
And see, I took that as a bit of foreshadowing because the devil says later, you have a part of me, and whenever you have a part of me or more, people are going to do what you want because they'll be scared.
Yeah. And then the mirror of guilt is mentioned here. They spelled it out for Damien and what the mirror is, what it did to him. and yet he's still like fighting the truth of it here. He's still like not fully getting it. The John Ben's like psyche within him is just so stubborn that he won't let Damien make real progress. It's so interesting because the whole kind of point of this mirror of guilt thing was supposed to end him by showing him all the horrible things that he had done to his victim. But instead, because of all the stuff flowing inside of him and all the augments and everything, he survives it, but he's still staring at the guilt
Well,
from
um,
the victim.
there is, I wrote it down, but I don't know which chapter, where it says later, and they were talking about the mirror again, it said that you would either find redemption or be destroyed. So the mirror does one or the other.
Gotcha. Yeah, and in the end, it really does with
Actually,
him,
it's in
doesn't
chapter
it?
22. I found it.
Chapter 22, a little more detail to the explanation here. That's what I wrote
Yeah.
down. A lot of explanation. Talk of the divine set in grotesque scenario is pretty interesting. They were talking about like very holy things in a very like unholy place. I wrote in chapter 22, this might be my new favorite chapter. I probably wrote that a couple times, but that that's the first time in the second half. And the concept of the reset is explained here, and it's mind bending and terrifying. Tyler, any thoughts so far on the kind of like mythology that's all getting set up in these early chapters 20, 21, 22, with the reset and all that kind of talk?
Yeah, sorry, I was just numbering some stuff. No, sorry, the no, mythology. Yeah, no, I thought the whole setup was very like interesting enough. Like part of me is still uncomfortable because again, like I think like I believe like angels and demons are like real forces. So kind of like some of this mythology stuff up. I'm like, I don't know, like what are we messing with here? Like I don't. I'm trying to figure out how to articulate this. I'm sorry. I'm having like a Asperger's moment right now.
It's all right, man. Figure it out. You'll be all right.
Uh,
Let's see
no,
here.
what the hell?
Let me see here. I'm trying to get our names up on the screen. All right. So here we go. Where is it? All right.
There's
So
that clicking again.
yeah, I'm not sure who it is. I'm trying to fix it.
What that is either.
Yeah, that's all right.
I mean, I'm
Here we go.
in a quiet room.
I think it's Tyler. I think it's you because you're clicking in and out now, like you're breaking up. I'm not sure, man. Sorry, technical
Back.
difficulties. We all know how that goes. Okay, so chapter 23. Let me see here. The injections made his body and mind superhuman, allowing him to survive the mirror, which should have killed him. So this is where we learn and figure that out. Is chapter 23, and this John Ben's taking over the psyche is sort of a side effect. Like it does, like it explains that redemption or destruction, but it doesn't explain how that comes about. And it feels like the whole John Ben's thing was almost an accident. You know what I mean?
Well, I didn't take it that way. I took it as the mirror did what it was supposed to do, which was to either make him find redemption by seeing through his victim's eyes or be destroyed. And then what the elixir did, because the elixir is, the truth of everything, it shows you the evil and the good and the truth of it all, then he has a clearer vision of what he's done with his
A,
life
a
to
stronger
easily
connection
a stronger
to the
connection to
victim.
find that redemption within himself. That's what I took it as. For chapter 23, I wrote down, if the devil can be forgiven, why not you? And there's quite a bit of that. And so like in my mind, I'm like, okay, he could find redemption and be forgiven, because God wants the devil to be forgiven.
And that's also where he gets that, right? The whole idea that
Mhm.
even the devil can be forgiven, which is what he like taunts Lucifer with towards the end. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Chapter 24, a literal blind spot in the doctor's room. Blind spots are everywhere. Like just blind spots left and right throughout this whole second half. And And there was a moment in that chapter where Wainwright heard Harriet's thoughts, and she made very special note of the fact that he answered a question that she asked in her head. So that was a big moment for me for Wainwright. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he slips a little, you know, and shows his power.
Yeah, but yeah, okay, so she shows power. Sorry, that's another chapter I was thinking of. But what I wrote down was the one thing that, because I was looking at her character arc and I went back through to look at her character arc to how did she get to the point that she did at the end of the book. And in this chapter, she's still thinking that people deserve her to be a cop and not an assassin.
Right. Right. That she needs to get justice, not revenge. Yeah. She's so interesting too because she's got that struggle with her connection to John and just her anger with the whole thing. Oh, I can't wait to get to the later chapters where she's standing. We're almost there. Let me see. Oh, okay. In chapter 25, there was a moment where she has a thought and then explains it as Wainwright's voice in her head. And I don't think she meant it literally, but I do believe that it is literally Wainwright's voice in her head. If he could hear her thoughts, then it's possible that he could speak to her through thoughts as well. Or at least that's what I got out of it. So that moment was huge for me because seeing another character's power through the eyes of somebody who doesn't understand their power. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't really take it as like she wasn't hearing him or she was just attributing it to him. I felt like he was talking to her in
Yeah,
her mind.
that's what I felt that he was, but that she
Oh,
doesn't
okay.
necessarily understand that he literally is speaking to her in her mind. You know, it's like when you have a thought and you go, oh, there's my mom talking to me again. You know what I mean? Like it's something my mom would say, or it's something she has said to me, and so that's how it strikes me from her perspective. Is like, oh, there's Wainwright in my head again, or whatever. But he literally was in her head.
And I do think it's interesting how this is when she first like prays to God for the first time too in a long time. Because Ringwright says if you need help, you should take it with the boss, and she closes her eyes and says, "Please let me live long enough to get justice for John."
That
All
prayer.
this time, she's had that she's wanted to make the symbol of the cross, and she's always like stopped, or she does.
Stops herself, yeah, until
Yeah,
she
she stops
doesn't.
herself. So this is the first time that she prays to God, and I think it's interesting that she's praying to God for justice, which we would not think is like the most Christian thing to do to actually get that justice. For her to be
Yeah,
that assassin. Yet
right.
that's
You're
what she's praying
told
for.
turn the other cheek, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Tyler, you look like you had something.
I mean, more of like a theological comment than a comment on like, because like I didn't find the whole prayer for justice like too out of whack
She is
because
a
like
cop.
yeah, like that's normal because like I'm not Catholic, but like the Catholics have saints for like cavalrymen, for police, for soldiers, and like our whole thing is like I think I'm trying to remember the gentleman's name. He was a World War I soldier who said like, look, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Like sometimes peace grows out the barrel of a gun. Like sometimes you can't make peace by being peaceful. So the prayer for justice and like that kind of dialogue, I was like, all right, that checks out. Like
Yeah,
I
but I
could,
think it goes against her character for the book, is what I guess I'm looking more at, because she has been like, I'm going to be the cop, not the assassin. And she's kind of turned away from God. And now she's turning to him, but she's turning to him to be the assassin and not the cop. You're muted.
But again, that's the thing though. Like as a cop, she's praying to God, let me live long enough to get justice for John. What justice is still open to her. You know what I mean? It's still kind of up in the air. Does it mean killing Rehnquist or does it mean arresting him and taking him through the system?
True.
You know what I mean? So like up until the end, you could see her going either way, and that prayer could have gone either way. So Jenna has finally made it. She's among us. Hello, hello. Oh, I'm blocking your face. Here we go.
No. That's partially on me, honey. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being
Hi.
patient.
We're so glad you finally made it. Let's get caught up with you. Introduce yourself to the audience, and then let us know your thoughts on the second half.
Sure. I'm Jenna O'Malley, your soul writer, author of the Arsenaway Forest Alliance. Book 3, Bound by Vengeance in Mind, does come out on June 1st in honor of Pride Month. So, yeah, it comes back from my editor for first pass this week. I get it for a whole whopping 2 days, and it goes right back to England. And she does another pass. So, of course, I'm also the other half of, well, the Author Tube Writing Conference.
Very nice, very nice. Welcome. So what were you thinking about this second half of Blind Spot? How did it hit you?
Oh my god.
It's a sledgehammer, isn't it?
Forbidden is better. I loved Forbidden so much. So much. This one was amazing. Got me right sucked into the world. I don't want to get out.
I like it. I like it. So you already dove into Forbidden then. You were that into it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Needed something to read during lunch still.
I like it. I like it. Any notes on the 20 through 24 chapters that we've covered already? We're into 25 at this point. Anything you wanted to share from those first few chapters there?
23 through 25, I said this in chat, made me want to sit down with Kent the most and be like, how does your brain work when you write this?
Well, what specifically, like, what about it? Like, what were you...
The elixir component, obviously everyone's going around on and around about, and this might be the Catholic in me, but I'm like, is this supposed to be a stand-in or an opposite or a foil to holy water on purpose? Would that translate to other readers? So just those little nuanced questions that for some of us, did not get answered. Because I think some of the questions Mama Maggie's wanting answered, I also still have. But that's good, because they got answered with Forbidden for me, so...
I like your question there about the elixir and what it means relating to like holy water and stuff like that. Because like I don't know if we have any fans of Signs in here, the movie Signs.
See, that's also where I went in my head too.
Right? Okay, so for the layman, Signs can at the end be a fairly disappointing M. Night Shyamalan movie, because in the end, the alien's weakness is water, and you're like, what the heck? But the crazy thing is that, number one, my understanding of that script and of that movie is that they're not actually aliens. They're more like demonic entities. And two, they're not weakened by water. All of that water in that house is holy water, because the little girl is an angel, and every time she drinks from a cup, she's blessing it and turning it into holy water. And so the whole house is full of holy water, which is the weapon against the demons. So anyway, that's and it looks like Jenna's interpretation of Signs, and that's where I went with this whole thing with the elixir, is the ties to how you can like change a substance and imbue it with either malice or blessing. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, because the elixir affected both the cherub, or however you say that word, the angel-like creature that's not an angel. Yeah. And the demon. So it's not just specific to evil. It affected any,
Yes.
My pastor of the church I grew up with said, holy water afflicts anyone with a bad heart. Whether or not they come off as good as evil, you can still have a bad heart.
Interesting. Let me see. I'm going to shift this up for these comments, because some of these are...
Did you kind of get the feeling like God didn't really hold it against you if you had a bad heart? Like he would still forgive you and he wanted you?
Well, that's the idea, right?
He was even sad that Shifty died.
Yeah, see, that's what I was
mad.
Hooking on to. Yeah.
Shifty was as evil as they come.
He was pretty monstrous, especially by the end there. Wow, you guys are way smarter than me. I just love the action and the descriptions. It was like I could actually see the action movie this should really be. I saw a lot of that.
I did see this being a movie.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Yes.
A big Hollywood blockbuster for sure. I have some longer comments on here. I still wasn't sure it was just the mirror, even at the end, because if that was true, then Damien, as John, still never found redemption. Because Damien's
he did. He found redemption. At least that's how I got it.
Yeah, I felt like he did because even though he kept referring to himself as John, he knew by the end who he really was, and more importantly, he admits that him saying my name is John Benz was almost like a battle cry.
So
In
here,
in yes,
yeah, I was gonna say, it says, John, it would be nothing to pluck the gun from the agent's hand, but he didn't. He may have been forgiven, but sometimes you still have to pay. So that told
Yes.
me that he found redemption, but he
yeah,
just knew that he had to pay for his crimes.
he knew that this was justice coming for him and he deserved it, so he was gonna take it. Yeah, that's heavy stuff, man. Love the John Damian mix. It made the book special beyond just being action horror, so creative and unusual. I'm gonna go back up here to Richard's. I get where you're coming from, Richard. I think I understand why it's reading as weak to you, but I think what makes it strong for me is that it's such a reversal of the mistaken identity genre or trope, right? Because instead of everyone else thinking you are someone else, it's you think you're someone else and everyone else doesn't believe you because they know who you are. It's this, like, I don't know, it was just like a nice role reversal of that trope, and the fact that again by the end of it, it wasn't so much a revelation to the reader, it was a revelation to John or to Rehnquist, and that's where it matters, you know what I mean? Or at least that's how I read it.
Yeah,
The character journey on that mattered a little bit more than the reader journey on it.
yeah.
We know, dude. It's all safe space here, bro. Safe space here. Stop apologizing for your opinions.
But also, as the beta reader, you also know what the previous version looked like and what
That
possibly could have
that's
changed.
true.
So,
That's true.
Mr. Insider.
He did do a whole edit on this thing for us, so yeah,
Mhm.
probably. Let me see. I have less of a problem with Harriet's change, given how she has seen so much supernatural angels and demons, which she could not explain. So it leads her to her prayers, and yeah, her change definitely rings true to me. And yet the fact that she kills him, like, it makes sense, but it's still very surprising.
Yeah, I
Could
didn't
you?
see the character arc going there. Even though she
Yeah,
was still questioning it in chapter 24, she was still thinking that she needs to be the cop and not the assassin. And I didn't really see there was a
Mhm.
chapter where it kind of changed a little bit, but I just didn't feel it was big enough for me to see her killing him in cold
gotcha.
blood.
Do you think that would have played off as well? Because he originally didn't have Harriet as female, did he?
Right. No, yeah, he used
I
to
wonder
be
how
Harry.
differently the arc would have played
Yeah,
out if they hadn't done that switch. Because it's not just a gender thing. With the gender change, a whole persona came with it, from what I gather.
all right. I am going to get back to. There's still so much in the chat. I want to get caught up, but I want to get through these notes too. Excuse me. So in chapter 25, Hardy's a badass. That's one of the things that I wrote in
Yes.
there. Hardy's a straight up badass. She did so much ass kicking in that chapter. Jerry is the Terminator, right? We can all agree that Jerry's a Terminator. And and this is where we first see Wainwright's full angel appearance and his whole ask sooner next time, Agent Hardy. That was a pretty cool moment where he swoops in.
And I think it's cool that it's the first time that she prayed for help.
Yes. And I love the follow up chapter 26 where Wainwright is kind of laying down the law with her and just kind of spelling it out and not taking any nonsense about it. I kind of really like that chapter from him.
And chapter 26 is also important because that's when Rainwright says John is in a greater realm and he's happy. So you know John is no longer, he's not there.
Dead, gone, and we know
Yeah.
where he is. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Chapter 27, we're setting up Lucifer's
Oh,
place.
Lou.
That setup, explaining what it is, the convenience store, all that kind of stuff. That's cool stuff. Chapter 28 was short and sweet, but we got some depth from Wainwright, some emotion and backstory about him as well, and Harriet praying for the second time. How interesting that Christians might eat this book right up. I just had that thought in chapter 28. I'm like, it's right up their alley. They might have a problem with all the F bombs, but whatever.
They're so common nowadays, though. Some people are becoming not used to it, but more accepting of, and
Mm.
that's both good and bad.
I've had a brief peek at my dad's 500 folders of outlining and brainstorming. I'm going to guess yes, he does plan in advance.
500.
So for those who don't know, this is Kent's daughter, otherwise known as, what is it, Psycho Cinderella? Is that right? Thanks for coming. Welcome. Let your dad know we're waiting for him. Let's see here. Oh, we'll get to that. Spoilers. Just kidding. Oh, no. We're talking about stuff coming up. All right, let's get back into it. Chapter 29.
Oh, I can hear y'all again. Just your track.
Hey, you're back.
Oh no!
Dude, any thoughts on those chapters? Getting in touch with what Lou's place is and the introduction of his convenience store and the devil himself.
I thought the devil, like, I don't know. I feel like since it's clear he's gonna have like a long series, he's got some long plan. Maybe save the devil for later. To have like some build up.
There's way more of him to come. Like way more of him to come. Like this.
Yeah,
it feels like we got a lot in here. We didn't. This was a taste. Like there's a lot more. I've read Forbidden.
Okay. Yeah, like I haven't read Forbidden, so I'm just like, oh, hey, it's like I'm trying to find something to compare this to, and I'm just struggling to think of like, I'm sorry, my brain's fried. It'd be like if you're playing Elden Ring and going to fight like the main boss like immediately, like skip anything else, immediately go fight the main boss. That's how I kind of feel like it's just like, oh, here
That's not a good way to speed run, yo.
Yeah. But he doesn't fight Lucifer.
No.
He's not there to fight him.
Philosophical.
He has witty banter with him. Sure, he pokes him a little bit, but
yeah. But I feel like you can't have I feel like a conversation is about equal to like fighting the devil. Like
true, a conversation with the devil. You might as well like
father of lies.
Yeah.
Like, why would you want to talk to him? I wouldn't talk to him until I'm like, all right, I've maxed out all my stuff. Like, I'm high tiered. Just to go have a conversation with the guy. Because you know you're getting played.
I don't know, man. In some ways, if this is the first book in a series, you can think of it as the first act in a movie, and by the end of the first act, you have to have that first introduction or the first interaction rather between your protagonist and antagonist, your hero and your villain, to set up the rest of the conflict. I don't know. I was cool with it. I like seeing him. There's a lot in chapter 29 where he's actually introduced that I really, really love. Sympathy for the devil playing when you enter. And we'll get through it in the rest of these notes. The way that comes back, not twice, but 3 times, I freaking love it. What else? Lucifer's presence being felt rather than seen is incredibly intense and was making me very, very like uncomfortable, especially when he's talking about how like John couldn't even like resist. He had to like bend at the waist and like he was folded in two. That's so intense. So intense.
Highly agree.
This was my
Daniel.
favorite chapter.
I wrote that too. New favorite chapter. Yeah, it replaced the old one.
Especially between Damien and Lucifer, that conversation that they have that's very philosophical. I can't say that word. I'm a bit tone deaf. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a bit tone deaf, so I don't know how to say a lot of words.
You're in good company. I'm Puerto Rican. It's fine. Go for it.
So I just thought that was just really, and that's when you learn that God forgives Shifty, and that you also learn that part of the devil is in Damien. So that was an aha moment for some previous things in the book.
Yeah, for sure. His take on Lucifer is so interesting because it's not quite shape shifting necessarily, but that facade shift that he does where he like becomes all these different but that for me became that double-edged sword that we talked about in the first half, right? That whole meta thing of like how much do you give? And one example in this was when he compares him to Sam Elliott
Yes.
I hear Sam Elliott in that monologue clear as day. However, right after that, he compares him to Paul Newman in The Color of Money, and I don't have a reference for that. And it took me out of it because now I'm looking up Paul Newman in The Color of Money. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where like, how much is it too much meta to like take you out of. I don't want to be taken out of the story. It was one of the few moments, calling back to that first half where like
Yeah.
I kind of took out. What do you guys think?
I can agree with you because I didn't know some of those references and I just skipped over those paragraphs. I was like, there's something here I should be knowing, but I don't know it. And the only thing I kept thinking was this setting is supposed to be near future Los Angeles. It would have been better to include some names of movies that don't exist, to maybe, like John Travolta, like actor in this movie or whatever. I don't know. Because, when they say you shouldn't put like movie names or music titles into your books because it dates them. Yeah. And then especially since this one is not set in present time, it's set near future world where there would be other things out, wouldn't they? Or maybe I also thought, does that say something about Damien's character? Maybe he was just into like 80s and 90s references, but we don't get enough of that about Damien's character to know if that was really like his thing. So I don't know.
It also happens a lot more in the narration than necessarily through the character's thoughts.
Yes,
so
true.
it feels more of a narrator thing, which is
Mhm.
why it takes me out. If it had been a character thing, it would have felt genuine. It would have felt like a reveal about the character. But the fact that it's coming from the narrator, for some reason, I have trouble disconnecting the fact that it's Kent. You know what I mean? He makes a
I don't
reference.
know Kent to know it. Like I said, I just skipped over those things because I thought I don't have a reference for these.
Yeah.
How much of that is you knowing Kent to a personal level in any degree, and you're like,
That
yep,
too.
this is him. This is him.
too.
This is totally him.
Yeah, that's a good point. That too. Yeah, a little too much connection there. I still feel like the mirror didn't work right because it was John's mind going through everything. His perception, his consciousness. Kent said in a stream that it was only set in the future because it would take time to build the Millennium Tower, the new tallest building in the world. It's not supposed to be like a futuristic novel. Interesting.
Well, then I don't. Is the Millennium Tower built now? I don't even know anything about it.
No, it's fictional in the book. It's
it's fictional in the book.
Yeah,
then
as
I don't
far as I
understand
know.
how
As far as I know. Yeah.
it would take time to build the Millennium Tower and the new tallest building in the world.
Right.
That could still be, a good 5 to 10 years in the future. You'd still have tons of movies that would come out in that time and new music. All the music and all the movies were not even in this decade. They were a couple decades before now.
Yeah, it's definitely risky to reference that far back. Jenna?
That's why I wondered what the age group of the intended audience really was. Because if it's someone my age group, mid 30s and older, most of us have heard the majority of, say, 85% or more of the references made. If that's the target audience, so be it. If it's a younger target audience, I can tell you, I teach middle school and high school. My students would have no clue who these people are.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you. Like I said, the whole Paul Newman one really took me out because I'm like, and the specificity of In the Color of Money, I was like, oh, so it's like that performance too. You know what I mean? Lucifer accuses God of being a liar in this chapter, and that felt big to me. It was a passing reference from him, but to me it was just like, whoa, like I don't know why it just like really like hit hard. And then sympathy for the devil coming back around when John is poking at him. That's the second time that it comes back. That like he actually like, oh, is that what you want? You want sympathy for the devil? Let's see here. Hope of redemption. All hope of redemption fled. The devil was inside him. That's the quote that I wrote from that one. Because, damn. Like, just the self-realization of, oh man, I'm irredeemable, It's messed up.
But he's not, because even Lucifer says that God wants him and he would forgive him.
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of confusing. Why?
Yeah.
Well, because they said it. They said, God was mad at Shifty, or was mad that Shifty was killed. That God would forgive everybody,
but this
and
is
that
still,
God still wanted Lucifer. So I thought that was kind of confusing.
This is still the consciousness or the perception of John Benz looking at his worst nemesis, the guy that they call the devil of Los Angeles. It doesn't matter how many people tell him that he can be redeemed. he's looking at, Rehnquist going, there's no redeeming that dude, and I'm that dude, so there's no redeeming me. You know what I mean? It's his own stubborn. He's a stubborn man. This John Benz guy. He's stubborn as hell.
I wonder if that didn't maybe add to some of the confusion about whether or not he was redeemed at the end.
For some readers, I could see where that's a likely possibility.
This is interesting. I kept wondering how much of Lucifer's conversation was misdirection regarding God. Father of lies, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Lucifer more is trickster, and yeah.
All right, we're getting close to the end here. Chapter 30. Let me see here. Oh, there's mention of only 6 men in history having received Lucifer's boon. Immediately, I was like, who are the 6? Surely Hitler is one. Yeah, Hitler's definitely
maybe Napoleon?
one.
I don't know.
Napoleon? Trump?
I love how we are all going to European and white dictators, just saying.
Historical
Kublai
figures.
Khan,
Historical figures.
I was about to say Mao Zedong.
Ooh.
Mao is probably responsible for more deaths than any other individual human being.
Genghis Khan probably has him beat if you include all the armies,
Genghis
though, dude.
Khan is a good pull. That's a big
Yes,
one.
he is. Genghis
It's
Khan
a
is
good
good.
consider, but then you ask the question like, well, hold on, let me get out of stuff and flip back to the stream so I can look at you guys. Okay, so like you have to ask like, what was like the total population of like that part of the world at the time versus post World War II China, which has a ton of people, and that was like, F it, we're gonna liquidate like.
The
all these
problem you're
people.
going to run into there is lack of accurate record keeping.
Yeah, well, for any of that, because I doubt the CCP is like, yeah, we're gonna take accurate records of everyone that we've erased from history. Oh, whoops, we airbrushed them out of all of our records.
Bingo.
All right, let's see what's left. In seconds, it would be over. And my question was, is this it? Is this the end for John Damien? And then chapter 31, nope.
Yeah. No, you saw that coming with the last syringe.
Yeah. Oh, and in chapter 30, when he says, my name is John Benz, he admits later that this is more or less a battle cry. But in the moment when I was reading it, my question was, will he die as John Benz fighting for good? He's not letting it go. Even though he knows now that he's not really John, Beirut quick on him. What a piece of crap Beirut is. He turned real hard on him real fast.
That turn, though.
He turned hard. Chapter 31, he injects his neck, which I believe is closer to the brain, so hence the brain heavy effect on that one, right?
That must have...
now.
Ugh.
That was cool when he was like healing
Gave me
himself by
creeps
choice.
so bad.
Ooh.
Ugh.
That was dope. I thought that was cool. In chapter 32, Wainwright and Harriet, she asks, "What if Lucifer gets involved?" And basically, he's like, "Well, then we're screwed. We're all dead. We're
Like
all-
they weren't
all
already."
Yeah, like we're just fucked. Is all it is. Good point about records. What if they're killing too many people to keep tally of? But then if you pull up papal history, we can immediately have dozens of potential candidates. True.
Yeah.
True.
I mean,
Very near future.
it's like the criteria, like who's killed a lot of people or who is very good at lying.
Well, I think it's the influence, right? When you have like that far-reaching influence, and that's why Genghis Khan was such a good pull for me, because yes, he was a conqueror, but I mean, when you're that huge and prolific of a conqueror, like you must have been, charismatic on top of everything else. You know what I mean?
That, and unlike a lot of these other dictators, his empire did outlast him by like 3 or 4 generations.
Yep.
Dude, his
and
DNA is still everywhere.
they say how many people can trace back to him today, and
Most.
most of
Let's say
them
most.
don't live where he's from.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Bananas, man.
that's a lot of influence.
Chapter 33, Wainwright coming in clutch. Shorter, quick chapters here. Very fun, very action-packed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Chapter, let me see here, 34. My note there was no way Rehnquist walks, right? Like, is she looking to kill him or arrest him, right? That's the choices here for Harriet. He needs to
I
go
think
down, but what about John, right?
Yeah, I think this is the chapter that's supposed to show her change in her character, where she decides she's going to kill him. Because this is the last chapter from her thinking I need to be a cop, not an assassin, to her killing him.
I
So I just didn't get enough of a change in this chapter, or show enough of her thoughts for me to say, "Yep, I could see how she came to that conclusion that she needed to kill him versus take him in." And maybe she didn't really know. I don't know, but I didn't really feel that struggle either. That she had that struggle.
I don't believe in this moment she's made up her mind yet. You know what I mean? Like I feel like she's still calling it justice, or she's still referring to it as taking him down or whatever, but it's vague, and it's vague on purpose because even she doesn't know what she's going to do in the moment. And that's why when we get to that final chapter, I'm sitting there going, is she pulling out the cuffs or is she going to shoot him? And then when he turns around and sees the gun, I'm like, well, shit.
And it's very possible Kent didn't want us to know what she was going to do there at the end, but I would have liked to have seen that struggle more, because I really did not see a struggle. This is the last chapter that she had before she killed him, before we're back with her again, and I would have liked to have seen that struggle a little bit. So because I felt like at this point she was going to arrest him, not destroy him.
I wonder if Kent didn't put more in here because of like the quick pacing of these last few chapters.
True.
But I agree with you. There should have definitely been a little bit more in there for sure.
I mean, working on the last few chapters of a book right now, I can tell you there could easily be like, oh shit, I don't have room for this scene, or this scene's redundant, it has to go, and there's just some other side details that got skipped.
If you didn't get a clue that there was going to be a second book while reading it, you got it now.
Yeah.
And I know some people are kind of commenting to what I said in the chat, but I still would have liked that foreshadowing, something, just even a sentence that would have let me know that whether she was struggling with it or because maybe what Wainwright said was something that led her to believe that she needs to put, Damien down.
He did definitely have a little bit to do with that, didn't he? He had a little influence on her.
I did feel like that he could have had an influence, but I didn't see that. I didn't see that working on her in her last chapter before she killed him. So I just didn't see any of that. I would have liked some type of foreshadowing. That it would, even if it wasn't something that jumped out and said, yes, this is what she's going to do, but just something that when she did it, was like, okay, I understand. That's how she got to this point.
Yeah. Chapter 35 is where it's all done and over for Beirut. That big battle was bananas. The whole thing where he throws him into the refrigerated unit and he's just all torn up. And he injects, and it just repairs it. That whole sequence was insane to me. Like, that was awesome. Let's see here. What else? All right, so chapter 36. This is where sympathy for the devil came back for me. When Lucifer is talking to John/Damien for the last time there in chapter 36, all I could think of was he sounds sad. Like, he just sounds like a sad dude who, like, he knows that he's been dealt these cards and he knows what's in his future. And he's just like, fuck it. And just going through the motions with it. You know what I mean? Like, he's accepted it. He's sad about it, but he's not fighting it. Like, he just, I don't know. He didn't seem to be fighting. He just knows that he's doomed. And he's like, I'll get there. It's fine. And that's where the sympathy for the devil comes at. I think that's bonkers. Thoughts?
It definitely plays against what most readers would expect as a response to that, I would think. I wasn't surprised as others might have been, though, ? And maybe that's just my messed up take on religion coming out to play.
Shannon? Tyler? What about you guys?
Maybe reminded me of a sports series. And Left Behind, when the Bethia was like they just back Armageddon, like does my still work?
I'm sorry, man. You're breaking up so hard. It's hard to follow. You're breaking up like really hard again. I'm sorry.
I can't hear you.
I was just saying you're breaking up like mad hard again. We can't hear you. He's resetting. The reset.
That's not funny. That's not funny. That's totally funny.
Shannon, what about you? Thoughts on the that whole thing?
The whole, have sympathy for me, for my
Sympathy
position.
sympathy for the devil. Yeah.
So I think it's an interesting concept to play into, but I go back to he's the father of lies.
Yeah.
So how much of that should you actually trust?
Damn it! I keep falling for it, and you keep bringing me back. You're right. He's a liar. In this same chapter, chapter 36, there's a really great example of what we were talking about earlier with the whole meta thing. There's a reference to an Austrian accent, which made me read "Go to Hell" in Arnold's voice. But then he references Arnold by name, and that took me out of it, proving my point that he can do it without the references. You know what I'm saying? He can paint those pictures and put those voices in your head without actually saying the name. And I think that if he is more confident in that in the future, there'll be less of these references that take you out. You know.
The something that I saw forever ago was like it was more about like the appearance, but it can apply to like the voices too. Was like if you want to say like, oh, that guy, he looks like Chris Hemsworth, just describe Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Don't say
exactly.
he looks like.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's just an easy way, I think, for some people to say it looks like Chris Hemsworth and try to pick out those spots that may look like Chris Hemsworth. I mean, it's easier to say a name than to break down the description for some people.
Yeah. Yeah. It might be a word count thing.
I just want to say, as someone who's not a typical fan of the genre, how much of what that was saving words?
Yeah, I mean, kept the pacing tight. If he's not like, they said, oh, he sounds like Arnold instead of a 2-sentence description of what he sounded like.
Hashtag Catholic school strikes again.
I mean, I do think it's an interesting concept that the angels did not have, freedom to choose. I think Curl Girl said something about that. Isn't it nice to choose? When Lucifer said that. So it's an interesting concept that maybe the angels weren't able to choose, but because it's coming from the source it's coming from, you have to wonder if
you
it's
still
true or
can't
not.
trust it. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's the quote I wrote for that chapter too. Is and isn't it nice to choose? Yeah.
I know the way it was explained to me theologically was like, we get to choose like every day, but like when the angels chose, like they only had like one opportunity to choose, and it's pretty much been like that since like, all right, like the best example I can think is like North and South Korea. Like, all right, get on your side of the line. That's your side of the line now.
Yeah.
Very arbitrary.
I'm putting a poll into the chat. Let's see here.
Yeah, Curl Girl says she was too young to know any of the references in the book. She had to Google them. It was fun though. And she ended up watching Cool Hand Luke, which I don't even know what that is.
It's a movie. If you haven't seen it once, it's at least seeing part of it once. And notice I said part because you might turn it off part of the way through.
It's not a bad movie. I mean,
I have never seen Cool Hand Luke. I'm familiar, but I've never seen it.
I just don't watch much TV, so when I do have a chance, I'm not going to watch too many of those things. I don't watch a lot of movies.
It was definitely one of those movies. It's one of those movies you watch with your dad. Like
that's who I watched it with, was my dad and my brothers.
Like Secondhand Lions. Like Secondhand Lions is another one of those movies in those categories.
Paul Newman was a cutie in Cool Hand Luke, but I don't believe I'd watch it all the way.
Paul Newman hasn't looked that good since, though. Sorry, Paul.
Well, we all get old, and
some of us don't age gracefully.
You're talking to the choir.
Father Time will have his way with us all. Okay, let's see here. I believe we can. Let's take a look ahead at what's. Well, wait, we haven't finished.
Wait,
The
we didn't
last
do chapter 37.
Yeah. Of course not. Of course
I
not.
was gonna say, wait a
So
minute
chapter
here.
37. So the final chapter 37 comes up, and the only thing I wrote was, "Yup, felt this coming since Hardy's last chapter, and it still hit like a ton of bricks."
Because you didn't want it to.
I didn't want it to. Yeah, that was the struggle, right? The idea that like Damian Rehnquist deserves to get punished, but we've been following John this whole time. And even though it's not really John, it's actually Damian, you have this connection to John and you don't want to see him punished, even though it's
That
See,
dang character-reader
I
relationship.
did not feel that this was the way. I felt like he could be killed or he could live, but I
Yeah.
did not have to guess one way or the other what was going to happen. I had no idea which one was going to happen.
I knew it was
I
teetering
kind
on
of-
that side, yeah.
I kind of felt like he was going to live because of the way Hardy was talking. But I thought, well, maybe it's not going to be Hardy, it's going to be Wainwright. But then when Wainwright died, I thought, okay, he's going to live. I thought, well, maybe something else will happen. I never really went over to the side of Hardy being the one killing him.
See, I knew that Hardy was going to be the end of it once Wainwright in his angel form joined the fight. Once that happened and she was still outside, I was like, okay, she's going to be the last one to confront him. So again, it's teetering on the edge. Is she arresting him, taking him to justice? Is she killing him? And it's just that moment where he turns around and sees the gun in his face. I was just like, damn it.
Yeah.
There it is. There it is. All right. Okay. Here we go. What part is this one? Let me see. We are going into the look ahead, which is part 3. So nice. So nice and joyous. Angel Forms. Love this choice. Okay, so
Go ahead, moving past the book. Are we talking about something else now, or are we still talking about the book?
So we what we're talking about in looking ahead is because this is the first book in a series, not that we're reading the sequel next, because we're not doing the same author twice in a row. That's one of our rules. But the fact that there is books to come and we have questions still left over from this one, we're looking ahead, meaning what do you guys think is going to happen next? Where do you think the series is going? What do you want to see? What kind of answers are you still hoping to get going forward? Shannon, would you like to go first?
Well,
You don't have to.
well, it's kind of hard because I've already seen a lot in the chat where they said that, Hardy comes to regret the decision of killing John / Damian. So I know that that's all coming. And the one question that I still had, which maybe it's nothing, but I just always wondered what was the significance of the 9 syringes. Now I know there was 9 the black cats, but that is such of like a witchy Wiccan type like thing. It was so much, the opposite of devils and angels, that kind of thing versus witches. But I don't know. Maybe there was some crossover. I always wondered, why was it 9 syringes? I always thought there was going to be some answer to why it was 9.
My theory or my understanding is, of course, the reference of a cat has 9 lives and the syringe saving his life every time he's near death. I felt it was that. But to answer your question, since it does feel so like out of place, I think that's intentional on the doctor's part. Because when they talk about their presence in this real world, they talk about how they're like not supposed to show themselves and reveal things to mortals. So instead they have to mask everything. And I don't know. I just read that as him trying to be clever. It's like, oh, this thing is going to save my guy's life. So, I got 9 on 9 lives, black cat, whatever. But it's mostly to mask the fact that this is from the fruit that, the wisdom of the knowledge of good and evil, rather. So like it's almost purposefully shifting your eye away from the supernatural and the spiritual to this stuff, witchy stuff.
Yeah, something that's more, folktale, like the Black Cat 9 Lives. It's fun. Amber said something about the 9 Ring Subway Project and Forbidden. So that's interesting that there's something that's 9 again. So it could be just a Kent Shawn thing. Maybe he just likes the number 9. It's his favorite number or something.
Well, also when you consider that a 9 is an upside down 6 and what Christianity says about 6s.
Oh yeah, sure.
I've wondered about that. But I was looking to see if there was something that might be said. And I did think, let me see over here. I did think the doctor might have had something to do with that too by choosing that 9 specifically, but I thought we would get his thoughts on that before he died, because he's dead now, right? He's gone.
Yeah, he's done. Yeah.
So if we're looking ahead, I'm curious if any of the other angels or the different names of all the different levels, will they now go and make an elixir? So I'm curious about that for the
Tyler?
future.
Tyler, you still with us? Probably not. Hello? Your thoughts looking ahead?
Hey, can you hear me?
Now we can, yes.
Oh, all right. I had something to say. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, good. No, so I had a thought on the 9 thing. Definitely means something. I was trying to get it there, but I was having some mic technical difficulties. So yeah, like numbers, symbology, obviously a big deal. I looked because my mind immediately jumped to like the Revelation seals, but there's 7 of those. I was like, I swear 9 shows up somewhere in Revelation. I just can't remember where.
I think you're right. Now I'm going to have to go look.
I feel like there's a beast with like 9 heads or 9 horns
That's
or
it.
something like that, right?
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
And they called Jerry the monster.
Oh,
Yeah.
Monster. That's true. Interesting.
The beast with 9 heads is a recurring link from prophecies in like Isaiah that foretold like Christ coming and Revelation, and it's supposed to represent like I'm trying to like articulate the
Kent is here. Shawn.
Sorry, Tyler, finish your thought, and then we'll jump into what Ken's saying.
no, it's supposed to represent like the big like the dominant force of like whatever empire is like around at the time. Like in Isaiah it was Babylon, and then in Revelation, well, we don't know because we're not there yet. So
All right. So we're going to give our closing thoughts on this book, and then we're going to maybe shoot some questions over Kent's way, and then we'll get into nominating the next book. So let's go ahead and get into our closing thought. All right. I, for one, again, can't say it enough. I really enjoyed this book. A quick, fun, exciting read. Kept the pages turning. I'm a very slow reader. I was shocked by how fast I breezed through this whole thing. I recommend it. If you have any kind of issue with religious iconography, religion in general, Christianity in particular, maybe not for you. But if you can set all that kind of stuff aside and just look at it as a work of fiction that is incredibly enjoyable and thrilling, then by all means dive in and read it, because it's freaking good. How about you guys? Closing thoughts on the book.
Should we go in order or any order? Oh, so loved it. And of course, I love the cover too. So I had to get the actual book. Of course, I had some questions. You guys heard my questions throughout, but that's because I really got into the book and I wanted to know more. I want to know more about this world. And like Adrian said, it was a really quick read. It's actually a good study for those of us who may write a little long. It's a good study for those of us who want to learn how to write better, quick to the point sentences to move faster through certain scenes. So I'm definitely going to be looking at that style and structure again as I move forward in my writing.
Right on. All right. Jenna, how about you? Closing thoughts.
just read the next book and the prequels and the sequels. Oh my God, they're so worth it. Best time I've spent on my lunch hour, break, whatever you want to call it, in a long time. And mostly because, yeah, I could get through a couple of chapters in a lunch break. If I had a longer break, you know, especially. Didn't want to put it down. Helped out if I had an insomnia spike too. So plenty of reading. And I definitely agree. Want to pick your writer brain a little bit, sir. And learn how the onion gets built into what it is.
Where all these layers come from, man? Layers upon layers. Tyler, how about you, man? Closing thoughts on the book?
It was good. Your sequels in KU. I'm probably gonna pick it up, grab my popcorn. Just like, hey man, you nailed pacing for a debut novel. You could definitely have done worse. That was pretty solid. You're off to a good start.
Don't know if I'd want to eat popcorn with some of the scenes he has in this book.
Well, you definitely don't want to eat anything with red sauce. That's for sure.
Yeah, don't make my mistake.
Okay, nothing in the book could be like. I'm an Afghanistan vet. Nothing in the book could be worse than some of the things I've actually seen.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
That being said, Shifty was pretty messed up.
I've seen some things too. I'm a vet as well, but it doesn't mean that I want to read it all the time.
I've never been able to talk to an author in real life. She's ask questions, ask away, everybody. Throw them up there because Kent is here and ready to ask questions or answer questions. Where's my English? I can't talk today. All right. Let's see here. While some questions are getting thrown in the chat, do any of our panelists have any questions at all for Kent?
When are you releasing your next book?
It's a good question. Very good question. Kent, throw that in the chat. How about Shannon? Any questions for Kent?
I would like to know what was the background on the doctor and whether or not he knew what the elixir could do to him, especially since, and this was something we brought up earlier, so I don't know if you were here for that, but that he put his hands deep inside Damien, trying to find the bullet that Wainwright put in him. But Damien's blood could affect him. So I'm wondering, what was the thought? Like, did he know that it could affect him? Like, did he take precautions that we just didn't see? Or I'm curious about that whole background there.
All right, and as you guys are asking these questions, I'm typing them out and throwing them into the chat so that he can hit them one by one as we go. Tyler, how about you? Any questions for Kent?
I'm having a brain fart at the moment. All the ones I have immediately are service related. We can probably take care of that offline. What do you plan to do next? I guess is my next question.
Book wise, like what's his next book or like?
Yeah, like next book, next series, like
Yeah,
what are
I
you
know
working
that
on?
he's wrapping up this series with the next one, I believe. So he should be on to something new after that. Good question. I'm into it. I'm gonna write it. What's the next series after this?
Are we staying in the same genre, even?
Yeah, I'd be curious about that.
I have a feeling he's gonna play with genre on his next one. Forsaken is back from the editor. Should be released in early May. So Jenna, there's the answer to your question.
Yay! Before the end of the school year.
Very, very nice.
More lunch break reads.
All right. Now, what else do we got here? How do you design characters that feel so real, even when they are supernatural? Very good question. Very good question. Nice. Okay. I don't actually have a question for him, only because I read Forbidden, and he sent me an arc for the next book that I haven't started yet, but I'm not gonna ask questions because I know where things are going. Bayrit is insane and thinks he is possessed of a special destiny. He takes insane risks, thinking his superior intellect will keep him safe. In other words, Bayrit messed up. Homie goofed. Homie goofed up. All right. Nice. This is cool. We actually have like the author here to answer questions. This is fun. All right. Will Lucifer ever be redeemed? You did sort of tease the possibility of it in this book, sir. So that's a good question. Very interesting. All right. Now, obviously, if there's spoilers, don't answer the question. That seems like a very straightforward, like spoilery type question. Let's maybe be a little vague on that one. Okay.
About it.
Yeah. All right. So while everybody is throwing in the last few questions, we have about a half hour left in the show. Let me throw up here our epilogue. All All right, my panelists all had homework to do. We are going to present each of us our first choice for a nominee for the next book. We are going to collect all 4 of our choices. If there are any duplicates along the way, we should have some backup choices that we can rely on. And the only rule is that it cannot be a Kent Shawn book, because we're not going to do the same author back to back. He's more than welcome to be back in the rotation on the next go around. So any other author tuber other than Kent Shawn for the next book? Shannon, you're up first. What is your pick? I'm dying to know.
Oh, I had like 4 maybe altogether that I wanted to choose from, and I told Richard Holiday I would put his book up there, but maybe the next go around I will do that, because I'm thinking I wanted to switch over to a female author. And so my which I don't think anybody will have, my nominee is for The Infinite by M.K. Williams. And she is actually one of our special guest speakers for the AuthorTube Writing Conference coming in July. And she is on AuthorTube. You can find her under M.K. Williams on AuthorTube.
Very, very cool.
Sci-fi from a strong female perspective.
All right. I like the cover. It looks nice.
She did it herself, too.
A new answer here. I think the original version, he wore gloves for the surgery, may not have made it into the final edit. Interesting. Jenna, your pick for our next book.
Somebody that is in the chat, methinks still. Somebody all of us adore. Somebody who works with a lot of us. Margaret.
Oh, is that where I thought you were going? That's awesome. That looks dope. That's a great cover.
I love this cover.
All right, tell us about this book.
So much. Well, historical fiction, I believe. Cape Breton, Ireland is where we're starting out. Follows a 13-year-old girl, so we're definitely changing out. Much beloved for the historical fiction nerdiness in my realm, since I do write a little bit of historical fiction myself. So yes, definitely huge props to Margaret, and as hard as she works for all the rest of us, couldn't pass it up.
Very, very nice. I like it. Tyler, do you have a pitch for us, sir?
Not really, primarily because all the author tubers that I know are right here. This is the first time that I've met half of you. Wait a minute. Is Adrian the only non-redhead in our little panel here?
I'm a box redhead. Let the dye lie to you. I'm actually a brunette, so... But thank you.
Very, very nice.
You can nominate one of mine or Jenna's books, but I don't actually want to be nominated.
That's true. You can nominate one of their books. Or your own, I suppose. I didn't really make that a rule.
Nah. Okay, fine. Nightmare Tenant by Richard Holiday. I will take Richard Holiday's suggestion.
I was just about to say that, Nightmare Tenant.
You know what? That was my choice. You've taken my choice, so I get to go with a backup, which is
Nightmare
fine.
Tenant by Richard Holiday.
But now that means I have to find a new...
that looks dope. That reminds me of those...
Nice.
Oh, what are they called? There's like Haunted. I got like a whole stack of them. They're like those old like Haunted Schools, Haunted like whatever, Haunted Tennessee. Like they're just ghost story anthologies. That's what that cover reminds me of.
Yep.
Nice,
one of my students is actually reading through Nightmare Tenant right now as an independent reading project because they love this genre and wanted something new. So
it is horror, right? Mystery horror.
Smattering of both is what I would say, but what I would categorize, it's probably not how it's marketed as. We'll put it that way.
I haven't read it yet, and I probably will read it only in daylight with all the lights on in the room.
Okay, well then my nominee is gonna be Tracker by Bethany Votaw.
Yay, so we got 3 female authors.
Yeah, it was gonna be Nightmare Tenant, but then that gave me the opportunity to throw Bethany in the ring here. So Tyler, thanks for stealing mine. I appreciate that, man.
No
Good looking
problem.
out. Let's see. Yeah, go for it, man. We're winding down, so no problem. Just throw them up there. Throw your answers up there. We do have some new questions. Did you think it was risky, all the characters having 2 names and the main character getting killed? It feels like a very dangerous way to start a series. Yeah, killing your main character in the first. That's so interesting though, because he's kind of got two main characters in John and Damien together. It's so unusual. So cool. So cool. I nominate Bethany Volthouse Tracker. What else we got going on? Another question here. Do you plan your series arcs in advance? Do you have an ultimate plan for the end, or does it come to you as you go? I know he's written the final book by now, so it'll be interesting to know if he knew all along. How do you design fight scenes? We did all really like your fast, sharp fight scenes that paint a beautiful picture without slowing us down. I really, really appreciate those, Kent. So yes, your fight scenes. Talk about those. Nightmare Tenant a few months ago. Very cool. Jenna, the Soul Writer. That is so cool.
I will find out how they're enjoying it for you very soon. Their deadline on the project, I think, is next week.
Cool. Trackers vote Tossum.
Really?
All right. So here's the plan with the next book, guys. I am opening up the signups for the Tuber Book Club again. You'll find the link in the description below. Click on that link. It's very simple. Just type in your email into the thing and select whether you want to just be a member in the chat or if you would like to be a panelist on the next book. Then, after we have our newbies signed up into the member into the club, I will then send an email with a link to the poll where you can vote on this next book. So, whereas the first book, the poll was open to everybody because we weren't a book club yet, this one only book club members get to vote on our next book. So we have our 4 nominees. I am going to try to get a 5th from Colin before then. He wasn't able to join us on either of these streams, but he was a founding member, and we're going to want his pick for the next book. BLINDSPOT was not written to be a series. It was an experimental short story I pantsed. When I write shorts, I try to pull off something difficult in the narrative. And that you did, sir.
That explains a lot about some of the structure choices, too. Very smart.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, Kent, if you have any last-minute answers to any of these questions, go ahead and throw them out real quick because we're about to wrap things up. Folks in the chat, if you have any comments about the show, if you want to talk to any of these lovely people before they leave, throw up that stuff in the chat now, too. For my panelists, we're going to go around the room and start saying our goodbyes here and start wrapping things up. So let me see here. I'm going to stop that, and I'm going to throw Shannon up first. Go ahead and let the people know what's coming up next for you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Shannon, but I write under the pen name SD Houston, and I have a YouTube channel under the same name of SD Houston, so you can find me there. I publish content about writing and publishing, my self-publishing journey, what works and what doesn't work for me, and I run writing sprints every Friday at 9 a.m. Central Daylight Time, so you can find me every Friday there, and I try to put out new content mostly every week. Other than that, I'm publishing or writing.
Very cool. Tyler, you're up next, my guy. Tell the people what's coming up next.
Sweet. So the first 3 books of my main Panzerder series are currently on sale for 99 cents. In
Nice.
the partial lead up to next month, a new number 1 in the Panzerder universe, Armored Warrior Panzerder Blackwater, will come out. And that is actually what I've been working on during this entire book club cast.
All right. And Jenna.
Well, thank you, everybody, for being here today, for one. Thank you for allowing me to be late so I could make sure I could see with better glasses. Very much for that. Thank you for dealing with the meowing kitties. Of course, my name is Jenna O'Malley, your soul writer, author of the Arsenaway Forest Alliance. Check out my YouTube channel. I also do sprints on the occasion. I'm in the process of joining up with Sarah Cannon's Heart Breathings community to be a sprinter for them. Book 3 comes out in T-minus almost 30 days. Check my newsletter, The Sunwalker's Side Quest, if you want to keep track of everything easily.
Very, very nice. All right. A couple of things real quick here. How do people join the book club to become eligible for the poll? The link is down in the description. Hit the link, sign up with your email, and let me know what you want to be as part of the book club. And then that's it. Then you just wait for the email that's going to give you the link to the poll. That should be within
Clarifying
the next week or
question?
two. Yes, go for it.
Even if it's for every book you re-sign up, right?
No, if you're
Okay.
already a member of the book club, you do not have to sign up again. If you want to be removed or something, you can do that. There'll be a unsubscribe in the next email. But other than that, if you're already a member, you don't have to do anything. Just stick around. If you want to join us, hop on it.
Oh, wait. So that was a bit confusing. I'm sorry.
I'm
For me,
sorry.
it was confusing. Probably not anybody else. So if I already signed up, I don't need to sign up again.
Correct.
But does that mean I'm automatically coming on the show next time? Or does that mean I'm just in the chat?
That's a good question. Okay, so I didn't think that part through. You're right. I suppose you guys are automatically back on unless you don't want to be,
Okay.
or unless it's your book we're covering.
Okay.
And then other than that, just so let me know if you can't be a part of it, if you don't want to be a part of it, whatever.
I
And then
wanna
we're
stick
gonna
around.
have and we're gonna have some people, some new people join us as well. So it should be fun.
Yay.
Thanks for that question. That's a good one. I didn't think that through. All right, for Blind Spot, Kent had here another answer go up, and I just missed it. There it is. For Blind Spot, I had no idea that it would be a series, as you said before, and I simply wanted to see how long I could stretch out a mistaken identity plot. The supernatural elements came as I drafted. I wanted to say, Kent, now that you're here, we were talking earlier about how cool the twist on the trope is. It's a mistaken identity plot, but it's not that everybody else thinks he's a different person. It's that he thinks he's a different person and nobody else believes him. I love it. Very, very cool. I try to visualize the fight first. I often get out of the chair and try to put myself in the positions my characters will be in. Then cut as many words as I can. Make it short, sweet, direct, to the point. I like
I'm
it.
not crazy for acting out my fight scenes. Yay!
Take it as far as you feel comfortable.
I did stage combat in theater in college, so that's part of it too, I think. But you were saying, my dear Tyler.
I move around a lot of stuff on the map because I don't really have fight scenes in my book. They're more battles.
Battle sequences.
In a gunfight, if you're like a leader, like if you're like in a one-on-one fight, you're not going to be focused on anything else. But as like a leader in like a gunfight, you're going to be like, okay, what are my guys doing? Where are my people at?
Yeah.
Where do we need to go?
Yeah, you're watching the entire board, right? Not just a piece.
You need to have some situational awareness. You can't get tunnel vision and be like, "Oh, that guy just shot at me. I gotta get him," because then you'll lose focus, and that's when bad things happen.
Interesting. Curl Girl, I do not design characters. I think characterization occurs when a character makes a choice or performs an action. So make your characters make choices, and the character shall reveal itself to you like magic. Instead of designing characters, I give them difficult choices and let their decisions tell us who they are. Love it. And in that way, they feel real because you can put yourself in their place and ask what you would do, what choice you would make. Shannon, there is no escape. Folks, if he has missed your question, now is the time to point it out. I think we should probably close any new questions, but if he missed any from previously, just point them out real quick. We have a couple minutes left in here. No.
Those poll results, though, dude.
Yeah, I'm about to throw those up too. Give me one sec. I feel like I could jump all over the place and not write awesome fight scenes like you, man.
Lots of practice.
I have several thousand hours in combat, so that
Or watch
probably
lots
helps.
of action movies.
Probably helps, yeah. Will Lucifer be redeemed? You must read to find out. A salesman to the core. All right, let me close the poll and throw the results up. End poll. The results are tallying. All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming and participating. Tyler, I'm so glad that you made it, dude. I'm sorry for our mic issues, but we're so glad that you came and you really added a whole lot, man. So I appreciate it.
I thought I was going to be late, and I ended up being like one of the first people in your.
You were the first one in. You were in here before I
would
was.
have come sooner, but the email he sent said 5 minutes till, so I was like, okay, I guess I have to wait until 5 minutes till.
You don't have to wait until 5 minutes till. That's just like, don't be any later than 5 minutes. Favorite character: John/Damien, 63%. Lucifer, 36%. Nobody likes Wainwright, and nobody likes Shifty or Cherry.
What was he saying about making them likable and relatable and whatnot?
Shifty ain't relatable, man. Shifty's something else.
Mm-mm.
Shifty's a monster. Monster. Cat. Why are we saying cat? I'm confused.
My eldest decided
cat.
that she
Oh.
was going to win.
I didn't even see the cat there. Unbelievable.
Scratching my couch.
All right, folks. Thank you once again so very much for being here. For everybody at home, thanks for coming. Kent, thanks for showing up and answering some questions. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's so nice. Oh, and the actual wrap up to all of this is that our panelists here, as well as every member of this book club, has promised to write a review of this book now that we have finished reading it. And we will continue to do this with every book that we read. Let's support author tubers, support each other, support yourselves. Very important as well. Let's keep this train going, guys. Sign up for the book club. Link is down below. The poll will be coming up within the next week or two, and we'll figure out what our next book is going to be, and it's going to be awesome. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Everybody wave. Oh, dude, yes. You know, Kent, now that we have finished your book, if you would like to be a part of the panel next month for the next book, I know you're a busy dude, so I'm not going to, sign you up.
But maybe he means he wants to talk to us because we read his book.
Both. Let's do all of that. You on the show, Kent, us talk, all of that. Let's do it all. All right, y'all. Thank you guys so much. So much love for Kent in the chat. Loving it. All right, y'all. Bye-bye. We're out.
Bye.
All right. Later.
It's not a game. It's a wrestling.
Thank you.